I'm Anna,
I'm Jessica.
and this is the Paranoia Pair.
Today I wanted to talk about the Manila Film Center tragedy in the Philippines. This took place on November 17th, 1981. But before I talk about the tragedy, I wanted to give a little backstory. In 1965, Ferdinand Marcos was elected president of the Philippines. In 1972, at what should have been the end of his second term, he declared martial law and granted himself dictatorial control over the Philippines. And I was kind of wondering, what makes them a dictator? Like, how do you go from president to dictator? But he apparently declared it because there was civil demonstrations and guerrilla activities. So I guess protesting and stuff.
Mhm.
And he jailed up to about 70,000 people without a fair trial, tortured 30,000 to 40,000 people,
Oh my god.
and executed over 3,000 people and used their mutilated bodies to decorate the streets to serve as a warning to other citizens and
Oh,
demonstrators.
okay.
So, not a great guy. Um,
It definitely saved on decorating costs that year.
Halloween was popping. He did some fucked up things. Um, so his wife, Imelda, was kind of spoiled, and there was a mantra: what the first lady wants, the first lady gets. Well, this first lady wanted a film center that would rival the famous Cannes Film Center in France, which I've never heard of.
Honestly, I
Um,
haven't either.
I don't even know what film centers do. I just know movie theaters. So, but she had plans to hold an event at the currently non-existent film center in just 3 months. So, headed up by the First Lady and the spouse of the Deputy Minister, her friend Benny Benitez, the plans went into action. The manpower needed for this was a lot. It took about 4,000 workers and 24 hours a day in 3 different shifts to get this job done in the time frame the First Lady wanted, which is wild to me that you can even find 4,000 workers just well, I feel like with her husband being a dictator, it was probably just kind of
Yeah, I'm imagining the construction that goes on in New York.
yeah.
It's probably not even comparable to that.
No, and I looked up pictures of it, and it doesn't look super classy or anything, but it looks really big. And so
Mhm.
it blows my mind that they managed to get it done in 3 months because the um the architecture inspiration they used was some of the Roman things with the big columns.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
the
it
pillars.
yeah, it doesn't look exactly like that, but you'll see if you see pictures of it kind of where it came from, but it's a lot more, I guess, modern boring in my opinion.
Boxy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So a little insight of how fast these people were getting the job done. The lobby was finished in 72 hours, and that was a job that should have taken 6 weeks.
Oh my god.
It took about 3 days and 1,000 workers, which is really wild. So you can see that there were probably some corners that were cut to get
Uh-huh.
things done quicker, and I'm sure OSHA would not approve of some of the things they were doing. So the tragic events we're talking about today happened at about 3 a.m. Some scaffolding collapsed. There's no real defined number of victims, but the most commonly used number is about 169 people fell into quick drying cement. There were multiple layers of wet cement, and the workers that fell just sank further into it, solidifying them. So, instead of letting each layer of cement dry
Mhm.
because they had to get it done so fast, they just kept pouring more and more cement over top. So it was like quicksand, they just it was like layers of cement and then they
Mhm.
just fell into them. And you would think at this point that there would be a rush to rescue the survivors or recover the bodies, but Imelda was told that the recovery would take time, and Imelda didn't want to lose that time. So she ordered the job to go on and to simply cover the bodies with cement and move on.
Were they still alive when they covered them?
See, I listened to a podcast years ago that said some of them were still alive when they covered them, but I didn't read any of that in articles.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know how true that is. But
That'd be
I mean,
terrifying.
definitely a lot of them died suffocating in the cement
Mhm.
or drowning, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I was going with this, but it's really fucked up. I think that'd be probably one of the worst ways to go in cement. I'm surprised there's not a Saw movie on that. Nina Beningo, the former public relations officer for the experimental cinema of the Philippines and the Manila International Film Festival, saw the immediate aftermath of the incident. Quote, from a distance, I could see people in stretchers being carried out, frozen in cement. When I got there, they were still digging people out. The cement was not completely hard, and there was a guy that they were trying to keep from going into shock, she said in an interview. Half of his body was buried. He was alive, but half buried. I don't know what it was, but to keep him awake, alert, and not go into a coma or shock, they kept him singing Christmas songs. I was watching this, she added. Yeah.
Imagine you're
Rudolph the
dying
Red.
and to keep you calm, but at least not be dead.
I think I'd hate Christmas for the
Oh
rest
my
of like
god.
you'd probably like go into like a PTSD thing every time you heard Christmas music. Um Mila Loren, head of the marketing at the Manila International Film Festival, has said of the incident, quote, I was told that they just cut up all the ones that were exposed, remove and build over, which is why the seats were very steep. It was a rush job. So these people were just, they just had to finish it, period, unquote. So they were like just sawing off limbs, cutting off limbs that were exposed out of the cement.
That'd be traumatizing.
Yes. And I'm sure the workers like were the ones that had to do it, and
Yeah, most definitely.
they probably like knew and worked alongside of these people, and now they're cutting this guy's arm off so that way it's not sticking out of the cement anymore.
And they probably weren't even getting paid that well.
No, I can't imagine.
A dictatorship? I don't imagine people getting paid well.
Oh, I don't know. That is pretty fucked up. Work didn't stop, and the $25 million Manila Film Center was still finished in time to house the first Manila International Film Festival. And the guests, famous guests, including Robert Duvall, who I've heard of, but I don't really know who he is. I know he's been in some movies, but he sounds old. The next one we will know is Brooke Shields.
Oh.
I think she was 16 at the time she went there. And Ben Kingsley, which I don't know him, but he played Gandhi in a film, so that's kind of cool. They had no idea that they were standing on top of the very bodies that helped build this structure. There's a lot of back and forth on the how and the number of victims, but at the end of the day, people died and their deaths were just brushed over, figuratively and literally, with cement. As a result of the scandal, this part makes me kind of happy. As a result of the scandal, the government withheld festival funding, and so Imelda had to find a way to pay for the festival for the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And so she ran porno films in the Film's Center's second and last year. So
I cannot imagine the black light glowiness that would happen. And that there's still theaters that are like that today. Did you know that?
Oh.
There are still theaters today that have adult films happen and like in person. Like people perform like theatrical sexual acts live in front of you.
So like
and I'm just like, stickiness on the seats?
Yeah.
Probably aren't from spilled soda, buddy.
Imagine the poor people that have to clean up the popcorn and the other. I don't know how people could like go watch a porno with a group of people. Like, I feel embarrassed watching a scene of people kissing in a movie with my husband.
I feel weird watching it alone.
No, like a whole porno, and then you like look to the guy next to you and you're like, hey man, you see that? Like,
oh god,
you got any extra Twizzlers? I could not. I can't believe they still do that. And I didn't know that they had. That's like some Roman stuff, having like a live action porno.
Yeah.
That's messed up. So it said that the Manila Film Center is haunted, and I feel like that's not much of a surprise considering the traumatic deaths. Imelda had brought a medium to the film center to exorcise the building, and the medium apparently went into a trance saying, now there are 69. Betty is with us. Betty, that woman of the her friend who, kind of went along with helping her build this, she had died in a car accident, and a lot of people claim that it was the ghosts of the victims that caused her to die in the car accident. It's probably not the case, but
probably not.
Others who have visited the building have claimed to hear noises, voices, and experience poltergeist activity. There have been reports of full-body apparitions, visions of blood dripping down the walls, and the sight of hands reaching up from under door frames, and that would scare the shit out of me. Like, if I was a ghost, I'd want to do something like that though.
Remember when forwarding messages were like a big thing?
I hate
The chain messages, and we made our own sand that would come out of
the
the
toilet.
toilet and drag you under.
I used to be so traumatized of those stupid chain messages, and I had to have stay up with me for like 24 hours one night because I thought that one of them were gonna get me, and I still ended up sleeping in bed with my mom. I used to be terrified of those. Like, I hated ours. Never took off though, did it?
I think it was just me and you.
Scared of the toilet. I helped, but I was still scared of the toilet, even though I made it up.
Honestly, same.
I'm still,
I'm still terrified of like if I like don't look in the toilet like before I go to the bathroom, there's gonna be like a snake or something that's gonna come out.
Mine's a spider. I'm always scared they're gonna like hide under like the bowl, and then like you're just gonna feel a tickle, and then it's gonna be a spider on you or
Or
something.
those nasty centipedes.
I hate those things. House centipedes.
Why do they have so many legs?
But why are they so long and like they're just ugh. I can't do it. Other visitors have heard cries for help, and a lot of security guards don't last very long before asking to be reassigned. In 1996, a paranormal group called the Questers attempted a seance where they believed they contacted a spirit called Charlie who said he was not ready to leave yet because of unfinished business. Obviously, nothing ever came to those involved. The former president died in 1989, and Imelda is still alive today.
What?
Yep. Just.
How old is she now?
I mean, her husband died at 72 in 1989. Hang on.
She's gotta be old unless she was like super young.
It's Imelda Marcos.
She's 95.
Well, you would hope that the Marcos family is not, in any power considering the history that they've had in the Philippines. But their son, Bong Bong.
That's his name. Is it like a traditional name?
I don't.
Let me look it up.
Their other kids don't have like nearly as nothing like Bong Bong.
So I looked up, is Bong Bong a traditional Philippine name? And then it said, people also ask, where does the name Bong Bong come from? Bong Bong appears to be derived from an Aboriginal language name Bung Bung, describing swamps or a river itself. Not to be confused with the Bong Bong meaning buttocks or posterior. Okay, so Bong is a gender neutral name of Vietnamese, Chinese, and Korean origin. Still a wild name.
And none of their other kids have names like similar to that. I mean, they all seemed like normal, like Ferdinand Imelda names, and then you get Bong Bong. And I wanted to make a joke, but I was like, is that rude? Like, is that like, but thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you found that funny because I was like laughing about it for too long. I couldn't take it serious.
Sorry, Bong Bong.
Yes, because he is currently the president of the Philippines.
Oh.
As of June 30th, 2022. So you're making fun of a president.
Oh, is he president? So he was actually elected or no?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's the current president. And then the film center is like still there today. For a while, it was used to host something called The Amazing Show on and off since 2001. Then it shut down in 2013 because of a fire, but then it reopened again, and then it may have closed down in 2020. So it's kind of back and forth.
Yeah, and that's when COVID came around too. So,
but the nice thing is that Imelda at the end didn't get what she wanted, and did not get her fancy, famous film center because I don't think she deserved it. After just brushing over the people's deaths and rushing it and not even caring about them dying. And she like had a media blackout because she like didn't want everybody else to know that it happened when it did. And so like she like kept it real hush hush. So anyways, that's the Manila Film Center tragedy, and I've always just been very interested in it because it does not sound like something that should have happened or could have happened.
Mhm. Can you imagine something like that happening today?
No. Like, you wouldn't think that the structure would ever be opened with the past that it has.
Mhm.
And I bet this place is haunted. Like, I would not wanna go there. And some of the pictures they have online, it looks like with the sunset or, like, the background, it does look pretty spooky. But that might just be because I know what happened.
I'm gonna look. Oh, okay, yeah. I can see what you were saying about, like, the Roman inspiration.
I have a picture,
I don't think it looks all that fancy.
it doesn't.
It kinda looks like a rundown office building, if I'm being honest.
I know. That's why when it said that the inspiration came from, like, this Roman building, and I was like,
This looks like it would be like a rundown bank.
it does, it looks like a bank.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why she wanted that. And it was some famous architecture too who, like, helped build it or
Really?
came up with the plans or something, and I was like, "This is, like, a pretty ugly building." Maybe the
Okay.
inside looks cooler, but
It is pretty big.
it'd be cool to go to and see knowing the history. But and then, like, the behind the building just looks like normal trashy. I mean, there's just a bunch of shit behind the building, and, like, it's disappointing that these people went through what they did to, like, have it be so run
Oh, for
down.
this.
Like, one article on this was saying that, like, "Oh, well, only, like, 13 people died," but then, like, all the other ones were saying, like, 169 people, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm
Why
gonna
is
go with
everyone else saying there's hundreds of
yeah,
deaths and you're only saying there's
I'm
13?
gonna go with the one that most commonly has it.
Yeah.
I just can't believe this guy executed all those people and just, like, that is, like, some wild stuff.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even gonna, like, mention him at first, but then I was like, I wanted to do some digging because they kept calling him a dictator, and I like, "Oh, what makes him a dictator?" And then I read that part, and I was like, "That seems awfully
That's like
dictatory."
something they would do in like ancient China.
Yeah. Blows my mind.
That's insane. Didn't they have like wasn't there like a scene in like Mulan? Wasn't there a scene in Mulan? The Disney movie? Where they cut that guy's head off? And then
Genghis Khan?
yeah, don't they cut his head off or something?
I don't
And then
think
they like
Genghis Khan's head gets cut off. Maybe it
someone's
does.
head gets cut off.
One of my episodes I wanna do on Genghis Khan.
They did actually cut it from posting it onto the streaming thing. The beginning of the film initially included a scene of Shan Yu and his army slaughtering an entire town, which would then lead to their relentless marches towards the Chinese capital. And apparently they cut it.
In the what? I wonder if it's in the actual movie. Did you hear about the ones with, the Chinese city that I think the Mongolians threw bombs of fleas that had, like, the bubonic plague? Maybe it wasn't the fleas. I think it was the fleas. But then there was another one where they, like, flung dead bodies that were, like, infected with it over, like, their city
Oh
walls.
my god.
It was wild stuff.
No wonder China built the Great Wall.
Yeah. No kidding. Okay. So, thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Paranoia Pair Pod, all one word. We'll see you next Friday.
Stay spooky.
Bye.
Bye.